Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today we're getting into a topic now that's actually kind of loosely connected to something that's been trending lately. So lately there was this whole kind of thing going on between these two content creators, one named Anton Daniels and one named Corey. I forget his last name, but Corey something. And I apologize for that. And I just wanted to get into this topic, not from the debates that's been going on back and forth with that. That's not something I really wanted to specifically cover, but more so from the angle of what it means to have all eyes on you. I think that this is something that is interesting in the space that we have come now. We have a lot of content creators, and what's happening now in the last maybe 15 years or so, 10 years, 15 years, is that content creators, whether they know it or not, are becoming almost like the new modern celebrities, or if at the least, they are becoming the largest form of consumed media. And so I think it's interesting because I remember when I used to look at different videos, interviews with celebrities, specifically maybe music artists, or even like movie celebrities that were very controversial, or, you know, from maybe a certain point in time, people were very like being in the spotlight, or whatever the case is, and how you would see a change between somebody who's just starting off and might be all over the place. They're just getting into that spotlight. They're brand new, versus the stages of once they get so high up in terms of their status, they're going to move differently. So I remember one time having a conversation with my cousin way back. He's very big into like hip hop. So we were having this conversation. I was making kind of light of the fact that it's interesting because when you look at, I'm just going to take a genre right now, say like hip hop, for example, because, you know, I like all types of music, but I love hip hop. And I remember one time I used to always watch hip hop interviews, and I really just find them entertaining. And I would notice that you have these phases, and I used to talk about this before. I thought it was interesting, but this is going to apply to all celebrities in general, but I'm just using this as an example. You would have the phase where a rap artist, for example, would go from, in the beginning, they're very hungry, so they'd go, you know, hey, we're here now, we're in this space, we just arrived, we're never leaving, you know, and not to make a joke, but you know, we can't stop because we won't stop. It's never going to stop, that kind of thing. And you have that kind of hungry phase. Then you go into a phase where it's like, okay, I'm not at the super top, but I'm above where I started. So now I have I'm a little more conscious of what I don't have. And now it's like, hey, listen, like, I'm a little bit more mad at the world because I need to be here. I need to be at this next spot. I need to be at this next level above that, which, you know, you've seen some artists who get to that phase too. I need to get here. And then the ones who go to the next level higher, now they've reached a level where it's like, I can't be sloppy anymore. So now I got to say certain things a certain way. And I remember at one time watching as like, I remember, I'll give it like two examples. I remember a point where, you know, you see always the intro rappers, and they always get, I don't even have to name an example of that, when they first come out and they're like, hey, we're here now, this and that. But I remember that middle phase, seeing a time where Wale was at that space, Kanye was at that space where you're very big, but you're not at the space you want. And you're more conscious now of that you're not where you want to be. And you're screaming out, sway, you don't have the answers. So, you know, but then you reach that status of celebrity. I'm just using hip hop as an example, but this applies to all types of celebrities, all types of genres. You get to that Jay-Z level where you're so high that now you got to be careful what you say. You see people like 50 Cent reaching that status now too, where it's like, you got to be careful what you say. You don't kind of say certain things, you know, it's going to have a certain look as when you're out there. So my point, to bring it back full circle, is content creators are now becoming the new modern celebrities, for lack of a better word. They're becoming the new modern celebrities. And I think that in this space, there's a point in time where they don't realize that they're going from being a regular person to now being a face that has everyone on them. They don't understand that when you go from maybe 1,000 subscribers, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 subscribers, to now being 100,000 subscribers, to now being maybe 2 million subscribers, there's a big difference as you go along those phases. And as you go along those phases, you have to be mindful of the content that you create and the things you react to and the way you react in those spaces. And in this case, more so speaking on the person Anton Daniels, because for a long time he had a lot of views that focused around politics, around dating, around all these kind of things. And his views were very strong, very polarizing, and there's nothing wrong with you having your own views. But the problem is that when you have those views and you're going to stand on those views, you got to be mindful that now as you get bigger, people are going to critique more so, one, that you're standing on your views. And even if you kind of fall shy of that, like I said, be mindful you're in the spotlight. So be mindful that you are standing on your views, but you're also acting accordingly to those views. Your energy and what you do in the world is matching the views that you speak on. You have to be about what it is that you're talking about. But in addition to that, if you have an encounter where things go sideways with somebody, whether it's people commenting on your channel, whether it's somebody you have a face-off discussion with and things go sideways, you need to carry yourself in a way where you understand there are hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people viewing you, and your brand is on the line. And I do think that there's a lot of content creators who don't realize that concept. They don't understand that transition from having a couple of thousand subscribers to now a couple of million, and understanding the change that has to happen. I recently saw a content creator, I'm not going to say their name, but they used to talk about politics. They used to talk about media, entertainment type of media, movies, like comic stuff, plus like politics stuff, things like, like different politics stuff all the time. I'm not going to go into details, but different politics stuff and who's in charge of what and all these other kind of stats, state laws and government laws, all these kind of things like that, all these type of things, the current media events, this and that. And they used to rant. They used to say all these kind of crazy things. They'd have their following. They'd have this strong personality, views on stuff. But then outside of doing content, they created a side business which started to grow and then started to really, they manifested it on their channel as their channel being a promotion for their new business. They were creating a product. At a certain point, they had to address their viewers to say, because I guess the viewers were saying, why are you no longer coming with that strong personality in terms of talks of the politics and other companies that are doing like crazy things? So when they first started off, in their content creation, they would say things like bashing other, companies that did things, maybe like, oh, Disney put out this movie. Why is this movie like this? Or why is that? Or this other company put out this product and why is that? And they're too like this and blah, blah. And these agendas. And they had addressed their viewers saying, the reason why I can't do that anymore is because one, I am obviously working on their new business that they had. But two, they said, as a business owner now, outside of the content creation, they're like, it doesn't look good on me as a person commenting just my own opinions randomly on another company when I'm a company now and I'm now commenting on another company like a casual viewer, casual, content consumer would do. And so he had to, not only it was good that he put that out there, but he knew at some point as he got larger, he had to check himself. I can't be that same person anymore. I can't be in that I don't care nonchalant kind of viewpoint, or even if you want to call it juvenile viewpoint of just, I do whatever I want. I'm going to comment on whatever I want, because it can come back and hurt his image, hurt his brand, and hurt his business. So in those speaks of how you're supposed to move, I think that in the event that recently happened with Anton Daniels versus Corey, that spilling out and becoming this whole thing, I think a key lesson to take away from that is, if you're in this space, or even just us commenting from all this stuff in general, is people need to be aware that when you transition from being your average person or consumer of content to a creator of content, but you get very large, you have to be aware of your image. You cannot just do whatever you want and think it doesn't matter, because you are at risk of destroying your brand. And I think not that whole event is the end of any of those content creators, because I believe Corey also took a hit as well when it came to that. But nonetheless, the way two people act in that space hurts their brand dramatically, rather than handling things in a way that doesn't. In the beginning, people thought that Anton, yeah, you know, he did the right thing. He stood his ground. But as time went on, there was a lot more poison in that event that later on started to spill out and started hurting him as well. And I from what I hear, people kind of knew Corey was the way Corey was. So I don't know how much that damaged him, but I definitely know it hurt Anton Daniels a lot in regards to that, at least that I seen as far as the images. And not that I follow all this stuff a whole bunch, because I really don't, but it just was popping up on the feeds because a lot of people was talking about it. But I want to discuss from a different angle, not from the drama specifically, but more so from the space of that. It is important for people who are in that content space now, who are, like I said, the new form of celebrities to a degree, learn to carry themselves in a way where they're conscious of how they're going to hurt their brand image. What are your thoughts, you guys? And as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.